Good evening, everybody. So, we're jumping right into this. This is my 2000 Yamaha Bear Tracker 250, and I got it for free for my birthday. And it's come a really, really long way from when I got it. All the plastics were sun faded. You can kind of see how it used to look back there. That's how the whole thing looked. But we're not worried about the looks of it today. We're going to try and fix a huge problem that this has right now. So when I got this four-wheeler, it hadn't been registered or ridden since like 2015, I want to say. It was the last time I know of it being ridden, so it just sat from then on out. And it came with, I know this is like literally just the shell of what used to be the carburetor that was on this. I have all the parts for it, it's just taken apart because I've used them as donor parts. Anyways, it came with this Mikuni carburetor. I don't know what's wrong with this carburetor, but it just doesn't work. I can't figure it out at all. So I bought an Amazon carburetor, which is the one that's in there, and it ran fine. This has had a really, really big problem with the floats sticking in it, either wide open or completely closed, and I don't really know why. But it did that about 4 days ago. I was riding home from a buddy's house, and it hadn't been acting up for like a month and a half. And then it just, bam, all of a sudden started peeing fuel out of it everywhere. So I took it home, cleaned the main jet out, and there was a whole bunch of garbage and whatnot in there. And then put it back together. And then I was going to take me and the girlfriend down to the park with the dog to go run around. I wanted to take the four-wheeler out. And got out of the yard, made it to the stop sign that's right outside the front yard, and it just immediately just died. Like, would not run at all. Because I tried to take off from the stop sign, and I just hit it full throttle, and it was acting like the choke was on. It was just running rich it could be, sitting there puffing smoke at the tailpipe, everything. So I pulled it back in here, pulled this carburetor off of it, and then took the slide and everything out of this that was good, and put it into the Mikuni carb that I have. And so when I got this four-wheeler, this Mikuni carb had a 90 jet in it, and the Amazon carb, the smallest jet that it came with, was a 145. So do the math, that's way too big for this motor. So I took the size 90 jet out of here and put it in that carburetor, and it threaded in there just fine. There was nothing wrong with it at all. Threaded in there like it was made for it. But when I tried to switch that carburetor, all the internals, to this one, I could not get that jet out of there. And it's like the threads just disappeared. Because I had a hold of the float. I'll show you on this one. I had a hold of the main jet right there with a pair of pliers, big old channel locks, pulling on it for all I'm worth and trying to twist it out. And it just sat there and spun. So I don't know what the problem was. So I put this, as you can see, if it'll focus, it won't. Anyways, it's got a 145 in it, the smallest one that carburetor came with. And I could not get this carburetor to tune, obviously, because it's getting way too much fuel. So I took all the internals from that one and put them back in there out of this one, and then put it back on the four-wheeler. And I thought, because I used to have a fuel filter on here, so I thought maybe that was the problem. So I pulled the fuel filter off and just had straight gas line running to it. Because at first I thought it was running really lean for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. So I thought maybe the fuel line got clogged up. Because that's been a problem with a lot of four-wheelers that I've owned. Is they just won't run and you pull the fuel filter off and like they're brand new. So I did that. Put the carburetor back on there. Same story. Got to the stop sign. Did the exact same thing. So I checked it and it is running incredibly rich. So I took it back in here. Haven't touched it since, but I figured it out. Whenever I pulled on that main jet in there to try and take it out, because it won't thread back in or unthread, it is not sealing at all. So the second you hit the throttle open, it just gives it everything it's got. It gives it way too much fuel and makes it puke out. And then, which would make sense, because when you're riding it and you're hitting the throttle, you know, you can, it'll go blah, and then get to about right there, and then just brr, 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 brr. But if you let off the throttle and then hit it wide open, it'll take off for a little bit. That makes sense because these are vacuum controlled carbs. I don't know where the slide is for this one, or I'd show you, but there's a vacuum line that hooks up right here and runs off of this vacuum hose vent line off of the of the head to give it as much throttle as it needs so it won't flood out, is the idea. So the second that slide opens enough, it just pukes out. So we're going to try today and pull that carburetor out, obviously, and then see if we can't get either the jut that's in there to seal, or if it can't seal, if it won't seal, take it out of there and then put it in this carburetor. Because I think the only thing wrong with this carburetor was the throttle slide was bad, which that has a brand new one in there, and they plug and play, put them right in here. So I think because the floats work, everything's good, except for I think it was just the original slide was messed up. There must have been a hole in it or something, because it would not give it any throttle. So I'm going to either, like I said, try and get that one to seal in there, and if we can't get that to happen, try and get it out and thread it back into the original carburetor. Because if we do that and it does work, I'm going to be a little irritated, because that means there was pretty much nothing wrong with this carburetor, and I could have just bought the $5 slide kit to put a new slide in it versus a $50 carburetor that really doesn't work at all. So that's enough yapping. Let's start pulling that carburetor out of there. Alright, so I had to take a little brief intermission to go sell another four-wheeler. It was sitting outside, but let's start pulling this out. Really straightforward to pull these out. Just loosen that. Give her a little wiggle. One side. Oh, dang. Give me a second. Forgot you gotta loosen the air box if you want it to come out. But no, that's loose. Comes right out. But I'm hoping I can just make this one seal, because I'm sick and tired of taking carburetors on and off of this, to be quite honest. It's a little annoying every now and again. I've had a carb on and off of this every day for the past while. Like, it's too much. Too much. I just want to have a carburetor that'll run and have no more problems at all. That's what I want. And that's what we're going to try to get today, hopefully. But we'll see how it goes. Take the throttle off, and then this will be off, and we'll move over to the big that shot the whole time. We'll see. But at first, I still don't know why I was thinking it was running lean. But I thought that this vent line that controls the slide in there, I thought it had a leak in it, because it used to just literally be electrical taped together. And that was the problem I had the first time I got this carburetor. I was trying to tune it, and I had it richened, and it never came out of it. And then I figured out, oh hey, it's because that leaks really bad. So I thought maybe that was a problem. Obviously it's not if it's running rich, but yeah, we'll hope and pray we can get this needle to, not needle, I don't know why I keep not calling it needle, this jet to seal in this carburetor. But yeah, that's where we're at. Step one. And then you got a carburetor. I just figured out what could have been one of the problems. This right here is supposed to be in the slide in this carburetor, and that's what helps it to move back and forth. But nonetheless, the needle in there still, it's not a needle, the jet in there still really sticks. So alright, so here we are. I started the video without having any kind of screwdriver on me. Now I have one. Hopefully this is a pretty decent angle. And if for anybody who's wondering, yes, that is gas that is leaking out onto my bench, but it's called breaking it in. You know how you gotta put oil on, like, you know, an axe handle or something like that? That's same principles. Just a little bit of gas on the wood, break it in. Step one. Man, it smells like gas out here. Anyways, we'll get this open, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. See if I can't. The way I think I can test this is I think I can run some WD-40 through the mouth of the jet and see if it comes up and around the jet that's in there, because if it does, it means obviously that it's not sealing at all. And if it's not sealing at all, hopefully we can make it seal, and if not, try and jam it, take it out of here as hard as we can, and see if it'll come out. So here we are. Belly of the beast, one could say. I wouldn't. This thing ain't no beast. It's a carburetor. But so there's our problemo right there. Find the WD-40 wherever it's at. So, best place to keep stuff is on the ground. So, theory, should be able to put that in there. Yep, see it coming around it? Doesn't seal whatsoever. So, let's see. We're gonna be try and do this what's supposed to be the right way. Just kind of jam it in there and see if it wants to grab anything. Hopefully it does. See, I think this is why it's stripped out right here. This is plastic. On the other carburetor, that piece, oh, I guess it's also plastic. Well, never mind what I was saying then. But let's check her now. See, the only problem is I don't know if it's going to be a long-term fix. But right there, it looked like it was sealing. I mean, there's obviously stuff around there right now, but that's because it came up through the front. Let's see. Get a good look at that. Yeah. That's a sealing. It's coming straight through the carburetor. So as long as it wants to stay where it's at, that right there should work. And jam it in there a little bit more just for some insurance, I guess. Make sure we got this all the way in there. No leaking at all. Well, there we go. So, should be able to put the bowl back on there and should run. But and we're also going to put the spring back in the throttle slide because it's supposed to be in there. And this is just good practice, guys. If you're ever putting something on that has a seal or a gasket or anything like that, you want to make sure that you're tightening everything down in small rotations, small turns, to make sure that it seals and you're not pinching your gasket anywhere or anything like that. Right now I'm just getting everything started, and I'll show you what I mean, just to ensure it's not going to leak, because a leaky carburetor means no go on the four-wheeler, and that's just not going to happen. So we're going to tighten this down until it starts to grab it. So that's just basically a little less than finger tight. Same with that one. We'll shoot down here. Same thing. Same thing. You can go, you know, tighten this. Now on this, you can just tighten it up the rest of the way. But if this is on like a actual car, there's something more than full screws and stuff like that, then you would want to do that little pattern just to make sure everything gets sunken down the way it needs to. So now we're going to take the top off and put the slide spring back in there like they're supposed to be, and then put it back on the four-wheeler, and it should run. But thankfully, since that piece in there is plastic that jet feeds into, we were able to kind of cut new threads deeper than where there used to be threads. I don't know how the threads ended up getting stripped out of it. I don't know what the problem was. It went in like it was made for it, so I don't know why that happened. But we're here now, and it's sealed, so I mean, it'll only work till it don't, right? So this guy just goes right down in there and then grabs this little, well, I got it backwards, hang on. This guy goes right down in there and then the spring grabs this little knob on the end. Put it back on there, tighten everything down, throw it on the four-wheeler, should run. Remember which way this goes on there, there we go. But yeah, should run after this. There it is, all put back together. And since the floats have a tendency to want to stick either, like I said, wide open or fully closed, a way you can check to make sure your floats are sealing and they're moving the way that they need to is on your inlet where your fuel is. You should be able to blow in there if it's upside down, or right side up I mean. You should be able to blow in there and have air come through, and as you blow, tip it over, and once you hit this, you should not be able to blow in there anymore. So and that's exactly what's going on, so it's good, ready to be put back in. Well, I got it back in there, and this is why I don't like this carburetor at all, because let's turn the fuel on. Yummy, yay. I don't know why it does that. I don't have a clue. It was just working perfectly fine, closing and everything, and then bam, doesn't work. So we're gonna pull it out, and I'm gonna clean it and then put it back in, and it should work. Alright, so we have it all hooked up again. Gas is on, it's on, everything's hooked up. So let me go grab my keys and we'll start it. Alright, got the keys. Make sure the choke is on. There it goes. Huh. The choke don't want to stay on. I also don't want to run with the choke on. Weird. Sounds pretty good. Come on. Oh, that's interesting. Well, it starts, but it don't want to stay running. Does it like choke now? What is happening? See if that does anything. Oh. Oh, you know what? When I thought it was running lean, I tried to richen that up a whole bunch. No, it's leaned way out actually, because then I realized it was running rich. Let me set that to where I had it real quick, and then it should run. Now let's see. Oh. Make sure your fuel is on before you try and start it. Choke's on, fuel's on. I want to say I messed with the idle screw too. There we go. There she goes. Oh, come on now. Well, there's obviously some tuning that needs to be done, but does want to run. It's because the choke came off. There we go. Alright, well, I'm going to get the air box back on and the seat, and then we'll try and take it for a spin. Obviously, it's going to die, because why wouldn't it? Alright, so we got it running, and it's running pretty good. Idle's a little high. Needs to be about there. But, as luck would have it, happens every single time I try and work on this. As soon as I do get it running, it starts raining. I mean, it's not raining that bad, but every single time, without fail, it started raining. So we're going to let it warm up for a little bit, and then we're going to go take it for a ride up the road and see how well it wants to run. See what tuning needs to be done, make sure the problem's fixed, but so far, it seems good. We got her out. Seems to be running pretty good. See if we can get a little wheelie action, a little one-hander. It'll try. It seems to be fixed, though. Seems to be good to go now. So, there we go.